Hello, YouTubers. This is a special series where my buddy Ricardo and I get to kick off a new project which aims to create a NuGet library, a NuGet package that allows people to fluently develop regular expressions. Regular expressions are very hard. If nobody can remember off the top, 21 years, 22 years now doing this, you're not going to remember all the rules. It's very complicated. You're going to have to go back and forth and figure out what you want to do. Think of regular expressions as a way to describe a bunch of rules that need to govern a particular string, right? A string is supposed to have three A's and two B's and whatever the case may be. And it's being widely used, across every single application I've ever seen, throughout my career. Email validations, phone number validations, name validations, tax numbers, bank accounts, emails, you name it, domain names, wherever there is a string and you want that string to follow particular set of rules, you have to kind of use some form of regular expression to describe what these rules look like. Okay, so my brother Ricardo and I were like, we're sick and tired of this shit, stuff. We don't want to do this shit anymore. We want to be able to simplify it, right? And wherever you meet someone, if you are someone who cares about the engineering experience, know for a fact that I will find you and I'm gonna be your friend. No matter where you are, what you are, because that's what all I'm trying to do is just enhance, radically enhance the engineering experience to make software engineering something so simple and so approachable and lovable by people. And we need it today, right? Why do we need this, Ricardo? We need engineering to be simple because there's scarcity in the engineering industry, right? There's a lot of the only way for us to be able to push the envelope of innovation and evolution forward is by having more and more people who are able to design systems and architect systems that can develop, the next stage in humanity, whatever that next stage is. That's the case. Okay, so with that being said, we might be joined later by Elbek and Yasser. These are very familiar faces. You know, it's this this YouTube channel and this community, this standard community is becoming more and more like a DAO, like a decentralized, organization where people just come from everywhere and they, join together. I even heard Stanislav the other day saying, "Hey, save my spot. I still want to come back and write software with you." And that's just such an honor. I'm really happy to see people wanting to come back. Ricardo, even you went on vacation for a little bit and then you wanted to come back. And so anyway, I didn't ask you anything. How are you doing? Welcome back.
Uh, a lot's been going on. I mean, not just vacation. Work
Yeah.
wise,
Yeah.
I got promoted, so there's that.
Okay. All right. Congratulations. You got
Yeah.
promoted now. I'm gonna have to work for you now. You're gonna have to hire me. What do you think about that?
I mean, nah, I don't think so. No.
No? Okay.
Um,
So Ricardo, you're excited about this project, right? We want to build this project, I'm going to publish shortly a another podcast session that I had with the guy that invented something called Blazer Eyes. And his story is crazy. He's from Croatia, growing up small town, nobody really understands technology, and he turned that little library that he built into a business, and now he's self-sustaining, right? I want every engineer out there to do the same as Mladen. Mladen is very, very smart guy, and like I said, you're gonna find people from all over the place, and we're gonna bring them in and say hi to them and see what's up. So okay, so we are in the requirement gathering stage, right? We're just brainstorming what we really want to do, right? So regular expressions like high level, we want to be able to go and say something to the effect of, here's just a very basic notepad. And then love the dark mode on notepad for the, experimental edition, the preview for Windows 11. Here's what we want to do. Ideally, a normal regular expression would be something like this. You go and say, "Hey, I want, whatever input is gonna be, it needs to be a letter from A to Z or A to Z, And you get to determine here whether you want it many times or just one time, something like this, or you want to however many times you want to have it, or it must have exactly one time, whatever the case may be, right? So there are all these little rules that they have, right? And if you look at, we're going to rely on this standard here for regular expressions to determine, the rules that we're going to be following. So here is regular expression rules, and here's this guy, and here's the rules, right? So you have has one of the following meanings, matches any single character except terminators, terminator characters, it has to be a digit, whatever that digit may be. So you can basically say from 0 to 9. So it gives you the range of what kind of numbers people can insert, or just digits. I don't care what these digits are. So I'm going to rely on this MDN Web Docs. I think that's from Mozilla, right? And it's very, very conclusive. Like it has all kinds of different rules that you can imagine. This is how you start, the end of the input, the beginning of the input. This is how you basically, you say this is my word boundary, and then there's the crazy stuff that you can do where like you can do question mark less than or equal y, as long as it's just you can actually write simple equations in there that can tell you how to do particular things. All right. What's the vision here? What am I trying to accomplish, with a project like this? I want people to be able to go and say, let's just look at some examples of regular expression, examples of regex. There's actually a nice kind of out of the box, thing like in here, for instance, it has to begin with dog. Now, whatever comes after that doesn't matter. Or like this, it has to end with dog. Or let's just take a look. Contains hello, contains gray or gray. These are all basic regular expressions, and we can validate those in here. We can do like regex pad. We can go here and basically, yeah, regex pad right there, and we can basically put the expression there, and it'll tell us, so if I go here and say dog like this, so so the string that I'm inserting has to end with dog, right? So if I say dog, then it's true. Do you see that little green mark in here that says, yeah, that's correct. What if I said dog one? Then that's not a match. I love how it does it in real time, and it even gives you a JavaScript, kind of thing that you can copy. So if I go and say hello dog, then that expression is okay. What if I do this? Hello dog like this. See, that's the sub expression is correct, but the other part of that expression is not correct, right? If I go and do something like this, so begins with, let's do this, begins with any letter from A to Z, or A to Z, like this, and then I think infinite number of times. Let's try this. So some dog. Would that work? Am I saying that right?
Try to without the space between
There it
some.
is.
Oh,
There it is.
okay. There you go.
From A to Z, some dog, right? Except, what if I say no, it has to be from A to B or A to B. Now that's not okay. So I can go here and say A, B, 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 B. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but it's correct, right? See, even after all of these years, I have to look it up. It's hard, right? You're just not going to remember that for two reasons. First of all, from a business perspective, regular expressions are not something that you're going to use every day. You're going to use it once to write a validation for something, and then it's gone. I don't care what happens next, it's gone, right? So regular expressions are a little bit problematic, because if it's something that you're practicing every day, people will probably wrap their heads around them, like SQL queries, right? Oh, select all, outer, join, inner join, left join, right, whatever the case may be, because they're using it. But regular expressions, embedded in the utilization of a regular expression, it's problematic by nature because you only use it once and forget it, right? So you're not going to be likely someone that will come back and say, oh, yeah, I did this 50 years ago. Now I can remember it off the top of my head. And some engineers will tell you, well, so what? Just go find out.
Yeah, and that usually is a problem when you're trying to find some things that usually wouldn't match exactly what you're trying to accomplish sometimes because of the different test cases that you do with your regular expressions. So yeah,
Exactly. So it's
I,
not just a problem in writing, it's a problem in reading.
yeah,
Because you can't just read a regular expression and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah, a lot of testing.
It needs a lot of testing,
Hmm.
right? So the idea here, and it's not really a very novel idea. It's a lot of people have tried this before, right? Like I said before, a lot of people have tried this, but what makes our adaptation much stronger is because we are a community of engineers, right? So a, you know, it's not that we're gonna create a library and just throw it out there. No, we use what we create. We actively use what we create. So here's the deal. If I want to do something like that very expression that we just made, so it goes like this, and then we go and say any letter from A to Z or any letter from A to Z, and then infinite number of times, and then it has to end with dog, right? How do we even do something like that, right? So this first guy here, this first piece, that's easy. We can say expression begins with. So begins with, that basically takes care of the piece of, oh, go ahead and translate this into that up caret, right? And then begins with, and then you can go and say any range, right? Any range um, any range from any range, and then from here, A to Z.
And the same thing would apply with numbers as well if you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you can go and say, well, what comes next after that? Well, I want to do, an or in here. So I can go and say or any range again from A to Z. We have to agree on the terminology. Otherwise, we won't be able to, figure it out, right? So any range from this or any range from this, and then what? So now these two became one statement. These two here became one statement. So you're gonna have to say for, right? For, and then times, and then here you kind of determine whether you want to say it two times, one time, or infinite number of times. Okay, and I want to make this simple, so it's gonna be like something for times, something like, range has an overload where you can add in, numbers. And there will be also a part where you say for exactly or for at least like this. So I want an expression that begins with any range or any range from this to that for at least this. So that makes this whole thing one statement, basically.
Shouldn't I mean shouldn't the begin with be like how do I say this? Like for example, wouldn't we like express inside of the parameter of the begins with like a lambda expression to represent what's beginning with, which in this case would be like the any range and then the or.
You mean the begins with like the
Yeah, because right now, you're kind of representing the characters, but right now, how will we end it in this case? Like, should we just say dot end, or because in that case, um, what about in terms of when we're grouping in certain regular expressions? Like
no,
how? Yeah,
no, you're right. We could get rid of this guy. We could
yeah,
just say any range because that's a given. Of course, it'll
yeah.
always be that, right? So any range or any range for at least, right? Or in our case here, to produce that exact same expression that you're seeing here, we can literally go and say for any number of times. And we want it to be verbose and we want it to be very specific about the rules. right? Like we want it to be much, much verbose. And then we can go and say, okay, for any number of times, and then I can go here and say, then, right? Then contains, and we can specify a word, and that's it.
Okay, I see it there. Yeah.
Is this simple enough?
I guess
Or, mhm,
I guess in terms of what's like if we're using the regular expression right now as an example,
mhm,
in terms of what's inside of the begins and end,
mhm.
it's very straightforward. But the problem, I guess, the problem would be how you would present those beginning and ending rules between the regular expression there.
Oh,
So
oh, you mean these two here?
yeah,
It's just the beginning and end of your existing expression. That's all. Like you
so
don't even have to add it. Yeah.
it's always gonna be like that for when you're representing. What if you have more regular expressions? Do you just chain it again and keep adding begins another begins with and ends with? I don't know if there's a
Ah,
case like that. You know,
yeah, the merge of regular expressions, like a merge. Yeah,
yeah,
I guess. Uh-huh.
like for example, maybe another begins with AZ, ends with cat, and then a
Hmm.
dollar sign. I don't know. It's like something that's wrapping in my head. I don't know if that's proper in a regular expression, but
You could like merging multiple expressions. This is why I'm saying, do you want to have, something like then end, right? And then
or then begin and then
begin.
begin. You know, so you begin and then end and then begin. You know, kind of like
Well,
chain of
well, if you,
more.
if you, well, if you're gonna merge multiple expressions, you're gonna omit those, so you can merge them together,
Ah, okay, I see. Gotcha.
right? So
Yeah,
that would work, right?
in that case, yeah.
And okay, um, okay, so this is the idea. I'm also thinking I don't want to do or like this. I want to say or any range like this because there will be and any range.
Yeah, like multiple combinations of Fluent
Yep,
methods, like
yep,
extension methods, and yeah, that could definitely work. Yeah, makes it easier actually.
right. There it is. What's up, Elbek?
Hey friends,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So, Elbek, we're just discussing this,
Hmm.
fluent expressions with Reiki. So,
Of course.
so begin any range and any range for any number of times, then contains dog, then ends.
Hmm.
So some people might say, well, why don't I just do this? Well, this is not intuitive,
Yeah.
right? It's not intuitive, right? There is also this expression here when you say this plus here means for at least one time, and that's just one word because of that
Hmm.
expression. So one or more, right? Or for exactly one time, this is where you go and say, yeah, I want it to be exactly one time. And I
Hmm.
think if my memory is correct, I think that's true. Like if I go here and say, okay, I want this to be at least one time, this will be okay. But if I say at least one time, any expression from A to B, then this here, A, let's see, if I'm doing it wrong. See, that's the thing about this guy. It's hard. So at least one time, is that how you do it? Let's see. Let's see. Okay, let me look it up. At least n times. There it is. So m times this is this guy. So that means I wasn't wrong. It's just saying, okay, this range
Hmm.
one time. So why is it not working? Dog. There. That's why. Like this, right? Or B, but it can't be BB because it only can allow whatever is in this range for that number of times. Right? So that's interesting. Like how we're gonna represent that is gonna be very interesting. because you can add as many ranges in there as possible. Like you can go here and say and a space like this. And that means that this expression here will be also true. You can
Hmm.
add a whole bunch of things in here and they will all be true. Like for instance, I can go here and say, okay, from 1 to 9 then I can still make this statement true if I say 1. But if I say 2, it's not okay because only one instance out of these ranges
Hmm.
can work. See how they work, right? Or you can go and say, oh, 1 or 2 times. In this case, I can go here and say AA, and that's completely okay.
Hmm.
So even like the number of times, you also want to give a range of how many times. I don't know, honestly, I don't know if you can give more options in here. Like if I say 3, nope, you can't do that. It's just a range. So this is this story basically. We want to be able to go and say, I want to allow, the fluent expression to be represented. Like this part that I just said, it would be like for range of times.
Hmm.
And you get to go and say, okay, somewhere between 1 and 10 times. What do you guys think about that? Now let's do a POC. Let's do a POC together and see if it works, right? We're sitting down. We're gonna need to try this, do a little proof of concept and see
Mhm.
if that's actually true. So I'm gonna try something here real quick and see if that actually works. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go here and say, I'm just gonna create a simple console application, and then we're gonna create
Mhm.
some tasks, and we're gonna break them apart. And then based on these tasks, we're gonna be able to wrap up this library real fast. This is gonna be a really, so this is Fluent
Mhm.
RGX POC. Let me create this project real quick, and let's see what that's gonna look like. It's gonna be a lot of um, it's gonna be a lot of extension methods.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's see the extension methods. So let's go here. So something like this. I can go basically here and say, okay, well, I can create a particular model. So these things don't come out of the blue, out of things for no reason. I want to create a model. So when I am building this expression, this model is the only one that produces that stuff. So I'm just going to go here and say public, class, fluent expression.
Mhm.
Okay, we got that fluent expression, great. Now I can go here and say public static class fluent expression extensions
Okay.
like this, and now I can start adding these methods. So I can go here and say, okay, well, public static, right? This guy's still gonna return fluent expression, right? The only difference is that I'm gonna go and say begin yeah, just begin like that, right? So
Mhm.
this will be this fluent expression
Yeah. Oh.
and and nothing else. So just the fluent expression and there's nothing else in there. And all I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go here and say return, set that hold on. So set that fluent, we need a value in here. So hold on a second. So it's a string value like this. And then we want to go here and say, okay, well, that fluent expression dot value will
Mm.
equal, right? And that's basically the beginning of your expression, which is this guy. And then I want to return that guy back. So if I go here, let me create another one and then I'm going to show you. So I'm going to do
Sounds good.
then the then end, right? Then end,
Yeah.
right? That's the then end. And then end here will be something like this is the dollar sign, like this, right? But that's going to be like an appending value to the existing expression. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Okay, we have two Elbeks here. That's weird. Elbek, why do we have two of you? Okay, okay, so I'm gonna add something just in the middle, just for funsies. I'm gonna go here and say, what did we say in our? We're gonna have to agree on the terminology, but any range. So in here, I'm gonna go and say any range, right? And then in here, my input parameters will be something like string from, string to. And now I can go here and say, okay, well, I said any range, right? Now I'm gonna go here and say, well, it's whatever the value is
Mm.
plus this from and to.
Mm.
So we might need to consider in this case. I mean, I
Mm.
guess we might need to consider the ordering of these things. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know this is still a proof of concept, but yeah, definitely would need to like take that into consideration when we're actually calling out these extension methods.
Yep, you're gonna
Yeah.
have to change these models so you
Mhm.
can't actually bring a next. I want it to be a guided experience. So even if
Mm.
you don't know what you're doing, you can't actually do begin and begin again.
Yeah.
Now it would allow you to do that, but we don't want them to be able to do that, right?
Mhm.
I love that idea, Ricky. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Let's just test it. Does this work? I don't know. Let's find out. And then I also want to say, hold on. I want to say, for any number of times. So that's basically just gonna go here and do this nice shindig here. We're just gonna go here and do here's what you have plus, right, the star, right? See how easy it is? Very straightforward.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in theory, it seems very straightforward, but is it really? Let's find out. Here's an expression equal new expression, fluent expression like this, right? And now I want to go here and say, well, so my expression dot begin,
Mm-hmm.
there's your begin,
Yeah.
great. And then I can go and say for any number of times, sorry, for range, any range, and here's from, right, A to B,
Yeah.
right, for any number of times, then end. Our
Okay.
expectation is, if this is correct, our expectation is that we need, so here's my final expression, whatever the case may be, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
let's just say my value, right? So the expression, raw expression, right? So that means that this guy can be, just give me the value out of this guy, like this.
Okay.
Again, this is POC, this is garbage. I don't code like that. This is nonsense, okay? So let's see if that's actually true. So console write line, raw expression. What's our expectation? Our expectation that this guy's supposed to look like this, A to B for any number of times, and then it will wrap up. Is that really what's going to happen? I don't know. Let's find out. Now, because I don't want to switch screens, I'm going to try to do a little gangsta move here and actually run it from here and see if that works. So .NET run, I think, something like that. And I have to, I think I have to point out, let's see, .NET run project. Come on. Here's my project, right? Do I have to do anything else? CS proj. Is that what it is? I never get it right the first time. Never. There it is. Check this out.
Wow. Wow.
It's just simple, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, dude, like, why wouldn't we do it like that, right? Now, what would testing something like this look like, right? I want to be able to permutate, right? Testing this is very easy. You can just pick up a Fluent and say this guy should return, this value. The easiest thing in the world. But the tricky part is that we want to test permutations, right? So it's not just returning the one value, because I can break your test so easy if I just go here and do this. Your unit test will say okay, but it's not okay because you broke the
Mm.
continuity and being able to append the values, right? What are the risks here, you guys? So we have a thing. That's a POC,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What? what are the risks? Go ahead, Elbek.
Yeah, I was thinking about string builder, using string builder
Mm,
instead of this plus and equal sign.
like
And
append?
during append, right? During the
Mhm.
testing, we can verify that this method has been called instead of any other thing.
Yeah, and stream
Maybe.
builder usually appends faster than the normal
Hmm.
appending string. So yeah, I agree.
So you're basically saying value dot append like this.
Yep.
Or you could even have like an internal function here that says add, and underneath you're calling whatever.
Oh,
This could be a service if you want. But anyway, so this let's test it. Let's see, right? That's the beauty of the compiler, it doesn't have compilers don't have friends, you know. They'll just they'll just tell you if you're wrong, they'll tell you you're wrong, right? To your face, no problem. That's why I love them so much because they're just very straightforward. It doesn't care whether you've been writing software for a year or 50,000 years, it doesn't care. Okay, so does that mean this value here, I want to get the,
string.
yeah, how do you
Yeah,
get the value from the
Two,
value?
two string.
Just do string, that's
the
all?
string.
Yeah,
Okay, this is really ugly, but let's see. Yeah, just
kind of figured.
let's see. And did I forget something? Project CS proj. Let's see what happened. Argument passed in the application is being run. Let me do a real quick build. Let's see what's the deal. Oh, they have a build error. Ah, we forgot this guy. So this guy is append.
You could make another method that just said get value and make value
Yeah,
private.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's the right way to do it, but it's a POC, so chill out. You can't judge me in this zone because I already said that's not how I write my software. Okay, let's see. Object reference is not set to any. Aha. So the other thing here is that we can't just do that because now it's an instance. It needs to be instantiated somehow,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? And how you instantiate this, I guess again, back to Ricky's point, you need a private class member that you initialize in the constructor, right? But anyway, let's go back here. There it is. Same thing.
Yeah.
We made the code a little bit more complex. We added a
Yep.
lot more code, but there you are.
Uh-huh.
So it looks like it's technically possible.
Possible.
It's not that impossible but we're gonna have to be really strict with the terminology. Like, are we building this for ourselves? The only way we can figure out if this actually works or not is that if we bring an engineer who does not know about Fluent regular expressions and tell them, hey, try to play around with this library and build me
Ah,
a
yeah.
regular expression. Now, the other thing is I actually wanted to kind of hide away the mindset of regular expressions. Like, this makes
Mm.
sense to us because we know about regular expression.
Yeah.
Like, we're basically saying, oh, begin, end, for any
Hmm.
number of times, any range. That's because in your head you're still writing regular expressions, which is not okay. It's very easy to, like, all that we did right now, it's just we just added a layer that still mimics the concepts of regular expressions. There is no
Mm.
magic in that. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
But how would we describe a rule? And how would we go and say, I want to be able to, like, I don't want the regular expression methodology or pattern to be the one governing how the language of the library works, right? How would that look like? I don't know yet. We need to think about that, right? So I want to go here and say, any letter, right, from uh you know what we can do? We can even, like, yeah, you could say any letter from A to, or you could just say any range, right, from A to Z, right, for any number of times.
Hmm.
Any range. But then how will it know to make this open and close brackets? That's the tricky part. And how I would do that, because you want to say any range from this to this, or any range from 1 to 9 for any number of time. Because
So
you also go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, well, I guess in that case, in terms of the qualifiers or the identifiers of the regular expression, you can use them probably as already constant variables, and any kind of range extension method that we're looking for, then we can just try to identify if we already have these particular
Parentheses.
qualifiers or
Yeah.
parentheses or brackets or whatever we call them to identify if we already have them open up, so we can then add or append more inside of that type of
Mm-hmm.
range that we're looking for. I guess that's kind of like what I'm going at. Kind of like in the OData Neo
Yep.
guy, you
Yep.
guys are already creating
Yep.
constant
Tokenization. Yep.
tokens. So
Yep.
kind of like the same idea for the qualifiers, identifiers, anything that's regular expression rules, boundaries, and stuff like that. So
Okay. Any other thoughts? The language is still very heavily influenced by regular expression. That's the only problem that I have with this. You know how C++ influences how C sharp looks like? That's what I'm seeing here.
oh yeah, definitely.
There isn't quite the right momentum of innovation in here. In here, we're just writing fancy methods that do string interpolations. And that's okay. That's not too bad. It's of value to some folks, right? Like, for instance, how the heck are people supposed to do or any value that is a space? Like, I would go and say this or space. But what if they want more spaces? Do we just make them go and say or space or space?
Yeah, in that case, well, hmm. Yeah, seeing like that, you're kind of visualizing the regular expression as you go.
Yep, which is not what we want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
See
I guess
this here?
in that
Mhm.
case, if you're doing well, but
Hear,
then
hear,
that's why
hear
you
me
have
out.
like the number of times, right? For any number of times in that case.
Yeah, but you want three spaces right after, like three, like I want this case here. Check this out.
Yeah.
I want to do this case here, Ricky. So this is here. I want to go here and do, no, actually I want three spaces. So if I go here and do one space, two space, three space, so it doesn't even understand it. I don't know why it doesn't, but it doesn't.
But
Is this because,
we already have, I believe we already there's already existing qualifiers to represent a space. Same thing goes for a digit and a word. You know, instead of using the ranges, you also have slash d.
then I guess the case I'm looking for would be something like this. It would be something like I want a space for exactly three number of times.
In that case, you would use the dot space for any number of three. Like at least that's what I'm trying to say, because it's like you said, like you don't want
Hmm.
it to actually read like a regular expression, so you
Hmm.
just use these optional parameters like for for space for any number of times, which would be three.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, see, those types of slashes is also represent some
Yeah.
ranges already.
I'm
I
trying to
know
find,
there's one for space. I know there's one for space. Let me see if I can look for one.
yeah, I'm trying to find one that allows you to put three spaces right after each other. Like it has to have three spaces. Like this guy here. Like if I take this guy out here, like if I take this guy out and I take this A, I bet you this is gonna work. One, two, three, dog. No, it didn't. How come? How
Uh,
come it didn't, right? Is it two? So that makes this. Let's see. See, that's the thing I don't understand, right? Uh, see, it doesn't understand that something needs to start with a space, right? Let's look it up. Regular expression begin with space. Maybe there's a special rule about it, right? Uh, Yikes. So it's saying any number of spaces in here.
Slash s. Yeah.
Uh, let's see, is that really true? So if I go here and say slash s, yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
then why did it not consider the underscore? See, that's the problem. Like, if you play these rules, this is why I want to abstract away the craziness of regular expressions and kind of conform and simplify it to,
Check the link that I sent you in the chat.
let's
I,
take a
I
look.
kind of use I kind of use this site to
Yeah,
test.
this site, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love this site. And it has actually the cheat sheet. Cheat sheet sheet. It has some explanations of certain characters. You can also look for qualifiers, identifiers, all the stuff for that. And you can also do some testing with this. Uh,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then there's the matching as few as possible. This is a very interesting project. Anyway, let's go back to this one. So it's basically saying this is a white space. I guess this rule doesn't apply if I go here and say I want AAA. And that AAA has to happen at least one time. So that's, look,
yeah.
see, it's this rule, it doesn't care because it thinks that these are three different values. Like I bet you this, I bet you people do this, AZ and AZ. And this rule would still be okay because that, like every time you skip a character, unless you are using a range, it will consider it as a completely different value. And that's why this one didn't work.
Mm.
The one thing that drives me crazy though is that, well, I'm telling you this is an empty space and it needs to happen three times, right? Exactly. And it's not working because it looks at it and it says, no, that's not a space. That's a, I wonder if this is a bug in this site and that this site actually, how do you use this site, Ricky? Do you have to log in?
No, you can just test it out with there. Yeah, just place the expression up there. And you can
Okay.
see down there that is also telling you what the actual regular expression is forming to.
Okay, let's try it. Let's go here and say, well, here's this guy
It
or
would be
three
in
times.
up above you. So it's the worst.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm blind.
Yeah,
So this guy,
yeah, and then
right?
down there you just put any word you want to put there.
Match any character. So if I go here and say space, 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 and that's it. See, it
Yeah,
doesn't match.
see if you read what's saying down there, it's already saying a character set that match any character that you're putting in there. You're putting an underscore that so that considers a character.
Matches three of the preceding token.
So try the slash s like the one you did before, and then number of times would be 3.
This one, oh,
This where it matches you the spaces, and then
it's
you of
not.
course it's not gonna work because you pass through the 3 spaces.
Yeah, yeah, this is a match. See,
Hmm.
that's dumb. That's really dumb. I don't think it's
Yeah.
working as it's supposed to. But anyway, we want to build a library that abstracts away this complexity,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
right? I want to be able to go and say, if I am expecting, if I'm scanning some code, like let's say you have public class student, right? And I'm going and saying, oh, you have a public GUID ID. I want to know when I'm scanning the code that this is going to be a space at a particular number of times. You can build a code parser and a validator just by using the library.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can detect pattern, you can detect expressions, you can detect anything you want to detect within the system itself.
So probably in that case you would just use a star, and then or it could match any characters after that with using a dot, which
Not if you want to enforce a certain number of indentations.
exactly. Yeah.
It's a little bit more, even more complex than that. But anyway, in general, there is a project here. There's a product that can be built, right? There's an
Mhm.
idea that can be explored, right? Um, we could just start simple. But the one thing that I really want you guys to think about before our next session is that how do I simplify the language?
Hmm.
This language here, you know what this is, Ricardo? This is the computer making you speak like it instead of you making the computer speak like you.
Okay.
Like no normal human being will say or space or space or space. That's a robot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do we fix it? How do we humanize it? Right? I bet you guys thought it was easy, right? As soon as you saw that console application, that's it. You're gonna roll up a NuGet package, right? Not how I build my software. But so so something just to think about, I don't want you to think about the code right now. The code is the easy part. I promise you, we can write the code day in and day out. That's literally all we do every day, all day. That's not the problem. The real problem here is that can we actually simplify regular expression? Can we build that abstraction layer that makes people never, ever, ever want to go back to writing regular expressions ever again? And if we can do that, then we actually innovated something. This is innovation, right? Because you're basically picking up a technology that is non-humanized and you're turning it into something that is
Hmm.
usable, right? Even us saying begin and end, it's still computerized.
Yeah.
Because if I'm talking to Elbik or talking to Ricky, I can say, hey, give me any string, that starts with X and has three characters and must have at least two numbers in it, and that's it. I didn't
Hmm.
say end. I didn't say end here. End is a given based on the sequence of things that you're providing. What's that all about?
Unless it's optional.
Unless it's optional. See, so somehow
Yeah.
you want to humanize the expression, the technology itself. You will notice this a lot. Do you know why a lot of engineers are lacking in social skills? Because they're computerized. The computer has that impact.
Uh,
And then they sit there in a group of people, and someone walks in with a bag full of apples, and someone would say, "Oh my God, you got like 20 kilograms of apples." The engineer, you'll always spot the engineer in the mix. They will say, "How do you know they're 20? Did you measure it?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people are more computerized than others, right? I'm not worried about the machines acting like humans. I'm worried about
hmm.
humans being influenced and acting like machines. And we
Yeah.
in the tech industry, oh yeah, we're definitely infected with that. I'll tell you that right now. Like if you're sitting in any sitting and people are repeating the same thing over and over, like if you go to, okay, let me tell you this. If I take the two of you and take you to a factory right here, right now, and I show you a factory worker that's doing the exact same thing all day, you're just gonna shoot yourself in the head. Be like, why don't you just automate it? First thing that's gonna come in your head. Why don't you just automate it? Right?
Yeah.
But what we miss, like, I was in Iowa, at the post office, and I saw that lady that sat there from the second I walked in to the second I walked out, and what she was doing, she was actually writing every letter to every single one of her students in a school in a class by hand. Someone else would say, "Oh, just get an Excel sheet with all the names and have a
Yeah.
template message, even randomize the messages, right? And just automate it."
Yeah. That's where we
Maybe,
different between what's in the machine, what's in sentimental value to one person. So yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand what you're trying to go with this. With it's not just do a straightforward instructions of things. It's just expressing sorry for the redundancy, regular expression, but it's actually expressing what you want to generate in that case. Yeah.
yep.
Hmm.
Go get us some food and make sure they don't put spicy food in there.
Yeah.
Go get us some food and make sure they have ketchup, at least two mayonnaise, mayos,
Hmm.
and three sandwiches. I want you to think about that seriously. By the way, just letting you know, any clown that just graduate, even didn't graduate out of computer science, can do the stuff that we just talked about. There's no magic in that. The real magic is to pick up this problem and humanize it.
Mm.
Humanize it.
Hmm.
And we have 10 minutes, and I promise you, for the rest of these 10 minutes, I'm gonna keep talking about exactly that. Humanize it. You
Okay.
know, um, You know how they say any clown out there can write code that the machine can understand, but only software engineers can write code that humans
Humans.
can understand. We started very slowly but surely dehumanizing ourselves and bringing our own amazing creation into the level of a metal, a toaster. I bet you didn't expect to hear that today, building a freaking NuGet package, but that's what technology is about, right?
Yeah.
Like I am way past creating fancy NuGet packages that do fancy things. Anybody can do that. I want to do something a little bit higher than this. I'm beyond that point. I'm in that philosophical zone where I want to go and say, I just want you to think about this. If you talk to your mother, when
Hmm.
I was younger, my mom would say, "Hey, go get me some potatoes. Go get me two potatoes." And when I go get exactly two potatoes, she'll be like, "Why are you getting me two potatoes? Give me
Yeah.
some."
Yeah.
So in America, they'll say, "Oh, just a couple." When people say just a couple, they don't actually mean two. An
So,
engineer will tell you, "Yeah, it's exactly two." Because we're nerds. We're nerds, right? But
yeah.
can we actually write expressions that speaks more to people than it does to machines? Because our job is to mold the machine to fit our ambitions. We bend technology to match our ambitions, not the other way around. You'll see a lot of engineers. Let me ask you both this. Doesn't matter what your background, how much experience you have. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen an engineer have such a great dream, right? A
Uh-huh.
great idea or a great project, and then they stopped because the technology is limited? They'll tell you that. Say, oh, well, the framework doesn't offer it, so I'm going to give up on my dream. That's someone who's been defeated by technology. Like a
Yeah.
toaster beat them. A
Yeah.
toaster. This is a big toaster. This is a toaster. We
Yeah.
made this thing speak. We made this thing allow us to communicate with each other. And I don't mean to turn this into TED Talk, but you guys are with me in this project now. So, assignment for all of us.
Hmm.
And for the people watching us, if you want to hop in and make some contributions. I know Yasser wants to be in. He's always a little bit sick. I know Mahdi wanted to be in. It's probably 3 in the morning over there. So,
Yeah.
just the time zone. Yeah, the time zoning is going to be a little bit of a challenge, and, but it's okay. We can make like 2 sessions a week, sometimes with group A and sometimes with group B.
Yeah.
Not a problem. But back to this, I want you guys to come up with ideas, and
Hmm.
that's the hard part. It's not the coding. The hard part is to come up with ideas. How can we represent a regular expression in truly human, fluent way?
Hmm.
And if we can do that, I promise you it's going to be one of the greatest products ever because it speaks to us. We're building it for us. For us, we're going to be using it. Our Turing test is that we bring someone from the street, right? Someone from the street. There are actually two tests. Two tests. Bring someone from the street who doesn't know code.
Okay.
They don't know code, and you tell them, hey, what does this sentence means to you? You show them
Mm.
your regular expression fluent API, and you tell them, hey, what does this mean to you? And they come up with at least 80 to 90% of what it means. And if they flinch, every time they flinch, you lose 10% out of the readability. Like if they go like this, That basically means you're
Okay.
and pick up someone that's not too attached to technology. Your uncle, someone who doesn't. Well, uncles are on Facebook all day long these days. So let's try someone, just anybody that doesn't necessarily need to use technology in their day-to-day job. That's the mission. That's the task. Go out there on the street, find someone, maybe someone selling hot dogs, or someone just sitting there, washing cars, or a mechanic, someone who only has to use the phone just to say yes, hello, come get my product, and tell them, hey, can you read this for me and tell me what it means?
Hmm.
And I will do the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. we will
Deal.
meet we will meet next time, right? And I appreciate you coming in today. This is not an easy task, but this is what technology is all about. And as usual, or we haven't even come up with a name yet for the project, and that's okay. I don't care about the name net for now. We can call it whatever we want, but I'm gonna call it cookies. What is it? Cookies? What did you call? What are these animals? What do you call them? Cookies?
Cookie. Cookie.
Cookie.
Cookie.
Cookies. I swear to God, I'm gonna call it cookie.net.
Okay.
And then people will be asking, where did that name come from? Well, when we were pairing with Ricky, I'm serious. That's
You can hear the party of Cookie.
you guys want to know a funny story? Do you know where the
Sure.
logo do you want to know where the logo of Scala, the Scala programming language came from? So Scala programming language, here's Scala programming language. Do you see this logo here?
Oh, okay.
Where did this logo come from? The logo actually uh the stairs in the company where they were looked exactly like that. I think it was in Italy, somewhere there. And they said, "Oh, let's just make it the stairs," because they couldn't come up with anything.
I mean, that
I'll
must
tell
have
you,
been some stairs, right? 'Cause-
I'll tell you even something crazy. Do you know that C sharp used to be called cool?
Really?
Yeah,
no,
cool.
no,
Cool.
Yeah, cool programming language. I'll show you. I'll tell you what.
no.
I'll tell you even why they used to call it cool, because it used to mean C. Let me show you. So it used to stand for, no, not classroom object oriented. This is a different one. Hold on. Let's go back here. C sharp. There. Okay. What was C sharp cold? Yeah, cool. And it stood
Cool.
for, yeah, C. It used to be called C like object oriented language. Cool.
Oh.
And see why this sharp came from? Look.
Mm.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
No way.
For real. I'll bring Anders himself to tell you on video. So
Wow.
I
remember
just
how
always thought it was because of I don't know,
the
musical instrument.
musical
Yeah, yeah.
that came later. A lot of people will tell you see pound, see hash,
See
Yeah.
hashtag.
see hashtag.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? So anyway, think about that. Think about this
Mhm.
idea. Think about this approach, and yeah, for people watching us, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys. Take care.
Bye bye.